The email notification pinged on my screen at exactly 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday that started like any other. I was reviewing applications for our graduate program, sipping lukewarm coffee, when I saw the name that made my blood freeze. Noah Scott. My name is Ariel, and I'm the Director of Graduate Admissions at one of the most prestigious universities in the country. I've held this position for 3 years now, and in that time, I've seen every sob story, every desperate plea, every attempt to game the system. But this was different. I stared at the screen, my finger hovering over the mouse. 28 years old, and my little brother was finally trying to get his act together. The irony wasn't lost on me. "You okay?" Jarvis poked his head into my office. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Something like that," I muttered, minimizing the screen. "Just family stuff." He raised an eyebrow but didn't push. That's what I liked about Jarvis. He knew when to back off. The memories hit me like a freight train as soon as he left. I was 12 again, sitting at our dining room table, clutching a certificate for winning the regional science fair. "Dad, look what I—" "Not now, Ariel. Your brother scored 2 goals in today's game." Dad didn't even glance up from his newspaper. "That's what I call real achievement." Mum was setting the table, her movements sharp and deliberate. "Ariel, honey, put that paper away. We're eating." "But I won first place." "That's nice, dear." Mum's voice carried that particular tone I'd learned to recognise, the one that meant she was humouring me. "Noah, tell us about the game." And just like that, my moment was gone. Noah launched into his play-by-play, gesturing wildly with his fork, while our parents hung on every word. I folded my certificate and slipped it into my backpack, where it would stay, forgotten by everyone but me. That was the pattern. Every dinner, every family gathering, every moment that should have been mine, somehow became his. When I made honour roll, they celebrated Noah making the JV team. When I got accepted to 3 colleges, they threw a party for Noah's high school graduation. The real kicker came during my senior year of college. I was working 3 jobs, tutoring, campus tour guide, and weekend shifts at a coffee shop, just to keep my head above water. My scholarships covered tuition, but everything else was on me. Ramen noodles for dinner, textbooks bought used and falling apart, clothes from thrift stores. Meanwhile, Noah was living it up at his state school. New car, fraternity dues, spring break trips to Cancun, all funded by Mom and Dad's investment in his future. I called home one night, exhausted after pulling an all-nighter for my thesis defense. "Dad, I was wondering if you could help with my graduation expenses, the cap and gown rental, the—" "Ariel, we've talked about this." His voice was cold, businesslike. "We've already stretched ourselves thin supporting Noah. You're smart. You'll figure it out." "But it's my graduation. I'm graduating summa cum laude. Your brother needs a new laptop for his business classes. That's an investment that'll pay off." Mum picked up the extension. "Honey, you have to understand. Noah's our future. He's going to take over your father's company someday. Your education is, well, it's nice, but let's be realistic. You'll probably just get married and have kids anyway." The line went quiet, except for the sound of my heart breaking. "Women's ambition is such a waste," Dad added, like he was commenting on the weather. "We learned that lesson with your mother's sister, spent all that money on her law degree, and what does she do? Stays home with the kids." I hung up without saying goodbye. Graduation day came and went. I walked across that stage alone, my diploma in hand, scanning the crowd for faces that weren't there. My roommate's family cheered for me instead, and I pretended it didn't matter. But it did matter. It mattered so much that I threw myself into my career with a vengeance. Every promotion, every achievement, every door that opened was proof that they were wrong about me. Now, 15 years later, I was sitting in my corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at a campus where I held real power, where my decisions could change lives. I opened Noah's application again, my hands steady now. His personal statement was 3 paragraphs of generic nonsense about finding his passion and making a difference. His grades were mediocre at best. His work experience was practically non-existent, and he had no idea that his big sister, the family disappointment, the waste of money, was about to decide his fate. The doorbell rang at exactly 7 p.m. on Friday. I wasn't expecting anyone, but when I looked through the peephole, my stomach dropped. Mom and Dad stood on my doorstep, looking older than I remembered, with forced smiles plastered on their faces. I opened the door slowly. "This is unexpected." "Surprise!" Mum's voice was too bright, too cheerful. She pushed past me into my apartment, Dad following behind. "We were in the neighbourhood and thought we'd stop by." "The neighbourhood?" I closed the door, watching them take in my space. "You live 4 hours away." Dad cleared his throat. "We had some business in the city." They settled onto my couch without being invited, and I noticed how Mum's eyes darted around, cataloguing everything. The hardwood floors, the granite countertops, the view of the city skyline. "This is lovely, honey," she said, but her tone suggested she was surprised I could afford it. "Much nicer than that shoebox you had in grad school." "Coffee?" I asked, moving toward the kitchen. "That would be wonderful." Mum smoothed her skirt. "We have so much to catch up on." I busied myself with the coffee maker, trying to steady my nerves. They hadn't visited me once in the 3 years I'd lived here. Hell, they'd barely called. "So," Dad said when I returned with mugs, "how's work?" "Fine." I sat across from them, keeping my expression neutral. "Same old stuff." "Still doing that admissions thing?" Mom waved her hand dismissively. "I never really understood what that involves." "I review applications, make decisions about who gets accepted." Dad leaned forward. "That's actually why we're here." "Here it comes." Mum set down her coffee cup with shaking hands. "It's about Noah." "What about him?" "He's had some setbacks." Dad's jaw tightened. "College didn't work out the way we hoped." "He flunked out," Mum blurted, then covered her mouth like the words had escaped without permission. "Sylvia!" Dad's voice was sharp. "Well, he did, Franklin. There's no point sugarcoating it." Mum's eyes filled with tears. "Our boy is struggling and we need to help him." I took a sip of coffee, saying nothing. "He wants to go to graduate school," Dad continued. "Start fresh. He's learned from his mistakes." "Has he?" "Of course he has." Mum's voice rose defensively. "He's grown up so much. You should see him now. He's focused, determined. He just needs someone to believe in him." "Someone like me," Dad nodded. "You work in admissions. You must have connections, know people who could help." I almost laughed. If only they knew. "What makes you think I'd have any influence over graduate admissions?" "Come on, Ariel." Mum leaned forward, her voice taking on that wheedling tone I remembered from childhood. "You've always been so smart, so good at networking. Surely you know someone who could put in a good word." "For Noah." "For your brother," Dad corrected. "Family helps family." The word family hung in the air like a bad smell. I set down my mug carefully. Where was family when I needed help with graduation expenses? Mom's face flushed. "That's ancient history." "Is it?" "We're not here to relitigate the past," Dad said firmly. "We're here about Noah's future." "Right, Noah's future." I stood up, pacing to the window. "What exactly are you asking me to do?" "Just make some calls," Mum said. "See if there are any programs that might be a good fit. Maybe mention his name to the right people." "He's applying to several schools," Dad added. "Cast a wide net, you know. But if you could help grease the wheels..." I turned back to face them. "And what's in it for me?" They exchanged glances. "What do you mean?" Mom asked. "I mean, what do I get out of helping Noah? You've made it clear over the years that I'm not exactly the priority child." "Ariel, don't be petty." Dad's voice hardened. "This is about doing the right thing." "The right thing," I nodded slowly. Like when you refused to help pay for my textbooks because Noah needed a new gaming console? That's not... Or when you missed my thesis defense because Noah had a baseball game. Mum's eyes darted away. We've always supported you. Have you? The silence stretched between us. Finally, Dad cleared his throat. Look, we know we haven't been perfect parents, but Noah is in real trouble here. He's got debts, no degree, no prospects. This is his last chance. We mortgaged the house again, Mum whispered. Dad shot her a warning look, but it was too late. Again? I sat back down. How much debt are we talking about? That's not your concern, Dad said quickly, but Mom was already talking. 80,000 between his student loans and the credit cards we co-signed for. She buried her face in her hands. If he doesn't turn this around, we could lose everything. The room went quiet, except for the sound of Mom's quiet crying. I stared at my parents, really looked at them, and saw something I'd never seen before. Desperation. After my parents left, I sat in my apartment, staring at the city lights. Their desperate faces burned into my memory. I needed to talk to someone who wouldn't judge me for what I was thinking. Peyton answered on the second ring. Hey, stranger, what's up? Can you come over? I need advice. On my way, wine or whiskey? Both. An hour later, Peyton was curled up on my couch, a glass of red wine in her hand, listening to me pace around my living room. So, let me get this straight, she said when I finished explaining. Your parents, who basically disowned you financially, just showed up begging for help with the golden child's mess? That's the gist of it. And they have no idea you're the person who decides Noah's fate? I shook my head. None whatsoever. Peyton took a long sip of wine. This is like something out of a Greek tragedy. The gods must be laughing their asses off. What would you do? Me? I'd probably help him, but I'm not you. And my family didn't treat me like garbage for 28 years. She set down her glass. What does your gut tell you? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Work email. I glanced at it and froze. What is it? Peyton asked. Noah's application just got flagged for review. There's a discrepancy in his transcripts. What kind of discrepancy? I opened my laptop and pulled up his file. He's claiming a 3.2 GPA, but the official transcript shows 2.1. Ouch! I scrolled through his application materials, my professional eye catching things I'd missed in my emotional state earlier. This is worse than I thought. Look at this. Peyton leaned over to see the screen. What am I looking at? His work experience. He claims he interned at Morrison & Associates last summer. And Morrison & Associates is the consulting firm that works with our university. I know everyone there. I clicked through to another section. And this recommendation letter from Professor Williams. I've never heard of a Professor Williams in our economics department. So he's lying. He's not just lying, he's committing fraud. I closed the laptop. If I report this, he'll be blacklisted from every graduate program in the country. Peyton whistled low. That's some serious karma right there. Is it karma or is it just cruel? Honey, karma is when the universe serves justice. Cruelty is what your family did to you for decades. She reached over and squeezed my hand. You didn't make Noah lie on his application. You didn't force your parents to mortgage their house twice. You're just in a position to reveal the truth. My phone rang. Jarvis. Hey, what's up? Sorry to bother you at home, but I'm reviewing some applications for Monday's committee meeting. I wanted to run something by you. Shoot. There's this candidate, Elise Sutton. Her stats aren't perfect, but her personal statement is incredible. Single mum, worked 3 jobs to put herself through undergrad, wants to study social work to help other women in similar situations. I glanced at Peyton, who was listening intently. What's her GPA? 3.7, and her recommendation letters are glowing, real ones from professors who clearly know her work. Sounds like a strong candidate. She is, but here's the thing, we only have 1 spot left in the program. It's between her and a few others, including some legacy applicants with better connections. Legacy applicants? You know how it is. Kids whose parents donated to the university or whose families have influence. Their applications aren't as strong, but they have advantages that people like Elise don't. Exactly. I just wanted to make sure you'd seen her file before the committee meets. After I hung up, Peyton raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, Noah's competing against people who actually earned their spot. Among others, yeah. And you get to decide. I nodded, feeling the weight of it settling on my shoulders. You know what I think? Peyton stood up and walked to my window. I think revenge is sweet, but karma's sweeter. Revenge is about you getting back at them. Karma is about the universe balancing the scales. What's the difference? Revenge leaves you empty afterward. Karma leaves you satisfied. She turned back to me. The question is, are you doing this for you, or are you doing this because it's right? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. Text message from an unknown number. Hi Ariel, this is Trinity, Noah's girlfriend. I got your number from your mum. Can we talk? There are things about your family you need to know. I showed Peyton the message. Well, she said, refilling her wineglass, this just got interesting. I called Trinity back the next morning, my coffee growing cold as I listened to her voice, tired, strained, like she'd been crying. Thank you for calling me back, she said. I wasn't sure you would. What did you want to talk about? Your family. Noah. The whole mess. She paused. I've been with him on and off for 2 years, and I've seen how they talk about you. How do they talk about me? Like you're some kind of failure who got lucky. Your mum constantly says things like, well, Ariel always was book smart, but Noah has real intelligence. Your dad calls you our little academic like it's some kind of joke. I gripped the phone tighter. Why are you telling me this? Because Noah's been bragging about how you're going to fix everything for him. He thinks you work at some small college and can pull strings to get him into a better program. He said that, word for word. My sister's finally going to be useful for something. He has no idea what you actually do, does he? No. Good, because he doesn't deserve your help. Trinity's voice hardened. Do you know what he did with the money your parents gave him for school? I'm afraid to ask. Gambling, online poker, sports betting, casino trips. He'd blow through his monthly allowance in a week, then call your parents crying about needing money for textbooks or lab fees. My stomach turned. They believed him? Every time, and when I tried to tell them the truth, they accused me of trying to sabotage their son's future. I set down my coffee cup with shaking hands. Trinity, why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know who you're dealing with, and because... She trailed off. Because what? Because I'm leaving him. I can't watch him destroy himself anymore, and I can't watch your parents enable it. After we hung up, I sat in my office staring at Noah's application file. The committee meeting was in 3 days. I had to make a decision. My computer chimed with a new email. From Noah. Subject: Hey sis. Ariel, Mom and Dad told me they talked to you about my situation. I know we haven't been close, but I'm really hoping you can help me out here. I've changed a lot since college. I'm focused now, ready to make something of myself. I applied to a bunch of graduate programs, but you know how competitive it is. If you could put in a good word somewhere, I'd really appreciate it. I promise I won't let you down this time. Your brother, Noah. I stared at the screen. This time? When had he let me down before? When had he ever been in a position to let me down? I typed back quickly. Noah. I saw your application to our graduate program. We need to talk about some discrepancies in your materials. Ariel. His response came back in minutes. What discrepancies? Everything in my application is accurate. I pulled up his file and started typing. Your GPA doesn't match your official transcript. Your claimed internship at Morrison & Associates never happened, I checked. And Professor Williams, who supposedly wrote your recommendation letter, he doesn't exist in our economics department. Care to explain? My phone rang immediately. Ariel, listen, I can explain. You forged a recommendation letter, Noah. It's not forgery, it's creative interpretation. Everyone embellishes their applications. Everyone doesn't commit fraud. Look, I was desperate, okay? I needed to make my application competitive. You, of all people, should understand what it's like to fight for opportunities. I fought for opportunities by working harder, not by lying. Easy for you to say. You always had it easier. I almost dropped the phone. I had it easier. Come on, Ariel. You were always the smart one, the one who got good grades without trying. I had to work twice as hard just to keep up. Are you insane? I worked 3 jobs in college while you partied on Mom and Dad's dime. That's different. They invested in me because they believed in my potential. They invested in you because you're a man. The line went quiet. Look, Noah said finally, his voice taking on a wheedling tone. We're family. Family helps family, right? You can make this go away. Make what go away? The discrepancies, just overlook them. Give me a chance to prove myself. And if I don't, his voice changed, becoming cold and sharp, then maybe I'll have to tell the admissions committee about some of the things I know about you. What things? Like how you used to cheat on tests in high school, or how you stole money from Mum's purse to buy those fancy college prep books. I felt my face flush with anger. I never cheated on anything, and I borrowed $20 for SAT prep materials. I paid it back. That's not how I remember it. And I bet your colleagues would be very interested to hear about your flexible relationship with the truth. Are you threatening me? I'm just saying, we all have secrets. It would be a shame if yours came out right when your career is taking off. I hung up on him. My hands were shaking as I opened my laptop and started typing an email to the admissions committee. The subject line read, Urgent application fraud alert. Then I stopped. My finger hovered over the send button. This wasn't just about Noah anymore. This was about everything, every slight, every dismissal, every time they'd made me feel like I wasn't worth their investment. I deleted the email and started over. This time, I was going to do this right. The admissions committee meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. on Monday. I spent the weekend going over every application, but I kept coming back to 2 files. Noah's pack of lies and Elise's genuine story of struggle and determination. Peyton came over Sunday night with takeout and moral support. You look like hell, she said, setting down containers of Thai food. Thanks, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Have you decided what you're going to do? I think so. I opened my laptop and showed her Elise's application. Read this. Peyton scanned the personal statement. Wow, she worked as a night janitor to pay for her prerequisites. While raising a 6-year-old daughter, her professors say she's the most dedicated student they've ever had. And she's competing against Noah for the last spot, among others, but yeah, essentially. Peyton closed the laptop. Then you know what you have to do. Do I? Ariel, honey, this isn't about revenge anymore. This is about doing your job. You're supposed to pick the best candidates, right? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Voicemail from Mom. I put it on speaker. Ariel, sweetheart, it's Mom. I hope you've had time to think about what we discussed. Your father, well, he's not been sleeping well. The stress of everything with Noah, the house, his health. Her voice cracked. The doctor says his blood pressure is dangerously high. I'm scared, honey. I'm scared we're going to lose everything we've worked for. Please, if you can help Noah, if there's anything you can do, we're running out of options. Call me back. Peyton raised an eyebrow. Laying it on thick, isn't she? Dad's health problems are real. He had a heart attack 3 years ago. That doesn't make Noah's lies any less fraudulent. My phone rang. Jarvis. Hey, quick question about tomorrow's meeting. I've been looking at the final candidates, and I wanted to make sure you saw Elise's supplemental materials. What supplemental materials? She submitted a portfolio of her community work, photos of the women's shelter she volunteers at, testimonials from people she's helped. It's incredible. I pulled up her file on my computer. I don't see any supplemental materials. Check your email. I forwarded them an hour ago. I found the email and opened the attachments. Photo after photo of Elise working with homeless women, teaching literacy classes, organising food drives. The testimonials were handwritten, raw, honest. She's been doing this work for 5 years, Jarvis continued, completely unpaid. She wants to get her MSW so she can open her own non-profit. Jarvis, can I ask you something? Shoot. If you had to choose between a candidate with perfect connections but questionable ethics and someone like Elise, what would you do? That's not even a question. Merit over privilege every time. Why? Just curious. After I hung up, Peyton was watching me carefully. You're wavering. My dad could have another heart attack. Your dad should have thought about that before he mortgaged his house to enable a gambling addict. That's harsh. Is it? Ariel, they made their choices. For decades, they chose Noah over you. They chose his comfort over your needs. They chose his future over your present. She leaned forward. Now they want you to choose him over someone who actually deserves it? Monday morning came too fast. I arrived at the office early. Noah's file spread across my desk. The forged recommendation letter stared back at me, the fake letterhead, a mockery of everything the university stood for. At 1:45, I gathered my materials and headed to the conference room. The other committee members were already there. Jarvis, Dr. Martinez from the psychology department, and Professor Kim from social work. All right, Dr. Martinez said, we have 5 candidates for the final spot. Let's start with the applications. We went through each file methodically. When we got to Noah's, I watched the other committee members' faces as they reviewed his materials. His GPA is concerning, Professor Kim said, and his personal statement is quite generic. The recommendation letters are strong, though, Dr. Martinez noted. Jarvis frowned. Actually, I have some concerns about the authenticity of these materials. My heart pounded. What kind of concerns? I called Morrison and Associates to verify his internship. They have no record of him ever working there. Professor Kim looked up sharply. That's a serious allegation. I also checked with the economics department about Professor Williams. No one by that name has ever taught there. The room went silent. Dr. Martinez set down Noah's file like it was contaminated. Are we looking at application fraud? She asked. All eyes turned to me. As director of admissions, this was my call. It appears so, I said quietly. Then we need to report this immediately, Professor Kim said. This kind of behaviour can't be tolerated. Agreed, Jarvis said, but first let's discuss the remaining candidates. We spent the next hour reviewing applications. When we got to Elise's file, the room's energy shifted. This is exactly the kind of student our program is designed for, Professor Kim said. Someone who's lived the experiences she wants to address professionally. Her academic record is solid, and her community work is exceptional, Dr. Martinez added. Jarvis nodded. She represents everything we value in our program. All in favour of accepting Elise? Dr. Martinez asked. 3 hands went up immediately. Mine stayed down for a moment, then slowly joined the others. Unanimous, Dr. Martinez said. Now, about the fraudulent application. My phone buzzed. Text from Noah. Committee meeting today, right? Fingers crossed. Thanks for having my back, sis. I looked around the table at my colleagues, all waiting for my decision about how to handle his fraud. I'll file the report, I said. I filed the fraud report at 4:17 p.m. The moment I hit send, something shifted inside me, a mix of satisfaction and dread that made my hands shake. My phone rang within minutes. Noah, what the hell did you do? His voice was raw, panicked. I did my job. Your job? Your job was to help me. My job is to maintain the integrity of our admissions process. You committed fraud, Noah. You destroyed me. Do you understand what you've done? I'll never get into graduate school now, anywhere. You destroyed yourself when you decided to forge documents. I'm your brother. Are you? Because brothers don't threaten each other. Brothers don't spend decades treating each other like garbage. The line went quiet, except for his ragged breathing. Mom and Dad are going to lose everything because of you, he said finally. Mom and Dad are going to lose everything because of you. I didn't rack up 80,000 in gambling debts. How did you... He stopped. Trinity. That bitch told you. Trinity told me the truth. Something you've apparently forgotten how to do. Ariel, please, I'm begging you. Can't you fix this? Can't you make it go away? It's too late. The report's been filed. The university has a zero-tolerance policy for academic fraud. Then I'll tell everyone what kind of person you really are. I hung up. My computer chimed with an email from Dad. Subject, disappointed. Ariel, your mother told me about your conversation with Noah. I'm ashamed to call you my daughter. After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? By destroying your brother's future out of petty jealousy. Don't contact us again. Franklin, I stared at the screen. Everything we've done for you. What exactly had they done for me? Another email from Mom. Subject, please. Sweetheart, I know you're angry with us. I know we haven't been perfect parents, but please, I'm begging you, don't let your hurt feelings destroy our family. Your father is in the hospital. His blood pressure spiked when he heard about Noah's rejection. The doctors say the stress could kill him. I know you have a good heart. Please find a way to fix this. Love. Mum. My office door opened. Jarvis poked his head in. Hey, you okay? You look pale. Family drama. He stepped inside and closed the door. Want to talk about it? I showed him the emails. He read them silently, his expression growing darker. Jesus, Ariel, this is emotional manipulation at its finest. My dad really is in the hospital. That doesn't make Noah's fraud your fault. He sat down across from my desk. Can I ask you something? The applicant we reported today, you knew him, didn't you? I nodded. Family? My brother. Jarvis leaned back in his chair. Damn, that must have been hard. It was the right thing to do. Yeah, it was, but that doesn't make it easy. He paused. For what it's worth, you handled it exactly right. You could have buried the fraud report, made it disappear, but you didn't. I thought about it. Of course you did. You're human. But you chose integrity over family loyalty, and that takes guts. After Jarvis left, I sat alone in my office as the sun set outside my windows. My phone had been buzzing constantly. Texts from Noah, voicemails from Mom, even a message from some uncle I hadn't heard from in years. I turned off my phone and drove home in silence. Peyton was waiting in my apartment lobby with a bottle of wine and Chinese takeout. Figured you might need some company tonight, she said. We ate in relative quiet until she finally asked, How do you feel? Honestly, powerful. For the first time in my life, I had control over something that mattered to them, and I used it. Any regrets? I thought about Elise, probably at home with her daughter right now, not knowing yet that her life was about to change. I thought about all the students like her who deserved opportunities but never got them because people like Noah took their spots. No regrets about the decision, but I set down my chopsticks. I keep thinking about what this means. They'll never forgive me for this. Do you want their forgiveness? I want their respect. I want them to acknowledge that I was worth investing in too. And if they never do? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. I'd turned it back on to check work emails. Trinity's name appeared on the screen. "I heard what happened," her text read. "Noah's been ranting for hours about how you ruined his life. Your parents are telling everyone you're jealous and vindictive. I wanted you to know you did the right thing. He would have failed out of graduate school too, just like he did undergrad. You saved some other deserving student from losing their spot to him." Another message came through. "Also, I'm leaving him tonight. I can't watch this anymore. Thank you for showing me what standing up for yourself looks like." I showed Peyton the messages. "See," she said, "you're already inspiring people." My laptop chimed with another email. This one made my blood run cold. The subject line read, "Academic fraud investigation, additional evidence required." The university's legal department wanted to interview me about Noah's case. They'd found evidence that he'd submitted fraudulent applications to 3 other schools using forged documents from our university. This wasn't just about one rejected application anymore. This was about to become a criminal investigation, and I was going to have to testify against my own brother. The university's legal department called me in Tuesday morning. Sarah Chen from Legal Affairs sat across from me with a thick file and a grim expression. "We've uncovered additional fraudulent applications," she said, sliding documents across the table. "Your brother used forged letterhead from our university to create fake recommendation letters for applications to Stanford, Northwestern and Georgetown." I stared at the papers. Noah's lies had spread like a virus across the academic world. "This is now a federal crime," Sarah continued. "Mail fraud, wire fraud, identity theft. The FBI is involved." "The FBI? Using forged university documents across state lines makes this a federal case. We need your full cooperation." My phone had been ringing non-stop since I left the meeting. I finally answered when Peyton called for the 5th time. "Where are you?" she asked. "I've been worried sick." "At the park near my apartment. I needed air." "I'm coming over." 20 minutes later she found me sitting on a bench, staring at the playground where kids were laughing and playing, oblivious to how complicated the world really was. "The FBI, Peyton, the actual FBI." She sat beside me. "What did you tell them?" "The truth. Everything. Noah's gambling, the forged documents, the threats he made to me." "Good. Is it? I just helped build a federal case against my own brother." "You helped expose a criminal who happens to share your DNA." My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. "This is Trinity. Noah's been arrested. Your parents are on their way to your apartment. Thought you should know." "Shit," I showed Peyton the message. "Come on," she said, pulling me up. "We're going to my place." But it was too late. As we walked toward my building, I saw Dad's car in the parking lot. Mom and Dad stood by my apartment door and they looked furious. "There she is," Mom said, her voice carrying across the courtyard. "The daughter who destroyed her own family." Other residents were starting to stare. I walked over slowly, Peyton beside me. "You need to leave," I said quietly. "We need to leave?" Dad's face was red, his voice shaking. "Our son is in jail because of you." "Your son is in jail because he committed federal crimes. He made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes." Mom's makeup was streaked with tears. "But you're supposed to be family. You're supposed to protect him." "Like you protected me. We gave you everything," Dad shouted. "We raised you, fed you, put a roof over your head. You gave Noah everything. You gave me the bare minimum required by law." "That's not true." "It is true." My voice rose to match his. "You refused to help pay for my graduation expenses because Noah needed a laptop. You missed every important moment in my life because Noah had a game or a party or some other thing that mattered more than I did." A small crowd had gathered. I could see neighbours watching from their windows. "You were always jealous of him," Mum said. "Always resentful that he was more popular, more athletic, more male," I interrupted. "That's what you mean, isn't it? He was worth investing in because he's a man. That's ridiculous. Is it? You literally told me women's ambition was a waste of money. Dad stepped closer, his finger pointed at my face. You ungrateful little... Don't. Peyton moved between us. Don't you dare. And who are you? Mom snapped. I'm the family Ariel chose, the one that actually supports her. We supported her. You tolerated her. Peyton shot back. There's a difference. My phone rang. Jarvis. Ariel, I just heard about the FBI investigation. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, stepping away from my parents. Just dealing with some family drama. Listen, I wanted you to know the story's going to break in the academic press tomorrow. The university is issuing a statement about our zero-tolerance policy on fraud. What does that mean? It means your brother's name is going to be public, and since he used our letterhead, our university's name will be attached to the story. I looked back at my parents, who were still arguing with Peyton. Jarvis, I need to ask you something. If this damages my reputation, if people think I should have caught this earlier or handled it differently, stop right there. You did everything by the book. You're a hero in this story, not a villain. After I hung up, I walked back to my parents. The story's going public tomorrow, I said. Noah's fraud is going to be in the news. Mom's face went white. The news? Academic publications first, but it'll probably spread. Federal fraud cases usually do. You've destroyed us, Dad said quietly. Our reputation, our standing in the community, everything we worked for. I didn't destroy anything. I revealed what was already there. He's our son, Mom screamed. How could you do this to your own brother? How could you do what you did to your own daughter? The silence stretched between us. Finally, Dad straightened his shoulders. You're no daughter of ours, he said. Don't ever contact us again. Franklin, Mom whispered. No, Sylvia. She made her choice. She chose strangers over family. I chose right over wrong. They walked away without another word. I watched their car disappear around the corner, and for the first time in my adult life, I felt completely free. How do you feel? Peyton asked. Like I just won a war I've been fighting my whole life. The news broke on Wednesday morning. University exposes multi-state academic fraud ring was the headline in the Chronicle of Higher Education. By noon it had spread to mainstream media. My office phone rang constantly, reporters wanting interviews, colleagues offering support, and one call that surprised me. Miss Ariel, this is Elise Sutton. Elise, congratulations on your acceptance. I'm so glad. Thank you, but that's not why I'm calling. Her voice was shaky. I saw the news about the fraud case. The article mentioned you were the admissions director who caught it. I was just doing my job. No, you weren't. You were protecting people like me. Students who can't afford to compete with lies and fake credentials. She paused. I wanted you to know that my daughter and I are grateful. You gave us a chance at a better life. After we hung up, I sat staring out my window. That call meant more to me than any commendation from the university ever could. Jarvis knocked on my door. There's someone here to see you. Trinity walked in, looking tired but determined. She'd cut her hair short and was wearing a business suit I'd never seen before. I got a job, she said without preamble. Marketing coordinator at a non-profit downtown. I start Monday. That's wonderful. I wanted to thank you. Watching you stand up to your family showed me I could do the same. She sat down across from my desk. Noah's been calling me non-stop from jail, begging me to visit, to put money in his commissary account, to hire him a lawyer. Are you going to? No. For the first time in 2 years, I'm putting myself first. She smiled. It feels incredible. What about my parents? Your mom called me yesterday, asked if I could talk to you, convince you to drop the charges. What did you tell her? I told her the truth, that you can't drop federal charges, and even if you could, you shouldn't. Noah needs to face consequences for once in his life. That evening, Peyton organised a small dinner party at her place. Just me, her, Jarvis, and, surprisingly, Trinity. We sat around Peyton's dining table with takeout containers and wine, talking about everything except my family drama. "I have an announcement," Jarvis said, raising his glass. "I got promoted to Associate Director of Admissions." "That's amazing!" I clinked my glass against his. "You deserve it." "Actually, I have you to thank. The Dean said my work on the fraud investigation showed real leadership potential. You did that work yourself. I learnt from the best," he grinned. "Plus, now I get to help you torture privileged kids who think Daddy's money can buy them anything." Trinity laughed. "I love that this is your job." "Speaking of jobs," Peyton said, "I have news too. I'm opening my own practice, private therapy, specialising in family trauma and recovery." "Peyton, that's incredible. I've been thinking about it for months, but watching you break free from your family's toxicity gave me the push I needed." We spent the rest of the evening planning Peyton's practice launch and Jarvis's new role. For the first time in weeks, I felt genuinely happy. The next morning, I drove to my childhood neighbourhood. The for sale sign in front of my parents' house was crooked, and the lawn needed mowing. I parked across the street and sat in my car, looking at the windows of the room that used to be mine. A moving truck pulled up. I watched as strangers carried boxes and furniture out of the house where I'd spent 18 years feeling invisible. Mum appeared in the doorway directing the movers. She looked older, smaller somehow. She glanced across the street and saw my car. For a moment we stared at each other through the windshield. Then she turned and walked back inside. I drove away without getting out of the car. My phone rang as I pulled into my apartment complex. Unknown number. "Ariel? It's Noah." "How are you calling me from jail?" "I'm out on bail. Dad mortgaged his retirement account." His voice was different, quieter, less arrogant. "I wanted to apologise." "For what specifically?" "For everything. The lies, the threats, the way I treated you growing up. I've had a lot of time to think, and I realise I screwed up badly." I pulled into my parking space, but didn't get out of the car. "What do you want, Noah?" "Nothing. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, and that I understand why you did what you did. Do you? You were protecting something that mattered to you. Your integrity, your job, students who deserved better than me." He paused. "I would have failed out of graduate school too. We both know that." "Yeah, you would have." "For what it's worth, I'm getting help. Real help this time. Therapy, Gamblers Anonymous, the whole thing." "Good. I know you'll probably never forgive me, but I wanted you to know that I'm trying to become someone worth forgiving." After we hung up, I sat in my car for a long time. Then I pulled out my phone and called Peyton. "Want to grab dinner? I have something to celebrate." "What's that?" "I just had a conversation with my brother where he actually took responsibility for his actions." "Holy shit, that's huge." "I know. And you know what the best part is?" "What?" "I didn't need his apology to feel good about what I did. I already knew I was right. I walked up to my apartment, past the spot where my parents had confronted me, and opened the door to my home. My space, my life that I'd built without their help or approval. On my kitchen counter was a card from Elise. Inside, she'd written, "Thank you for believing that merit matters more than connections. You changed my life." I stuck the card on my refrigerator right next to my diploma, the one my parents never celebrated, the achievement that led to everything I'd become. I was the waste of money, and it was the best investment I ever made on myself.